back to the NobleForms tutorial series. Hi, I'm Richard Noble, the Oregon attorney who founded NobleForms. This series of videos is designed to show you how NobleForms can automate your estate planning, probate, and trust administration practice. Earlier videos in this series started with the production of a full estate plan. We were using as an example client John Andrew Jones and Jane Alice Jones, and the hypothetical law firm producing the plan was the Olson firm. In the last video in the series, we completed the preparation of the 3-ring binder with all the documents and emailed the client a link to download the documents. Now going forward with the videos, we will be assuming that Jane has died and that we have to administer her estate. The videos will show you how the templates in the NobleForms probate and trust administration template set allow you to efficiently handle the administration. This is the first video in the probate and trust administration series. This video will show you how to start the process. Let's take a minute and review the templates in the trust administration and probate module. I have another hypothetical client on the screen right now, Sally S. Smith. I'm just going to use this to show you the templates that are part of the template set. And later we're going to go back and perform and work on the administration of the Jane Jones case. So if you look at this template, this screen right now, you can see that we're in the estate of Sally S. Smith. We've already set it up. And you can see that there are 3 apps that have been added to this. And what I'm going to do is show you, I'm going to demonstrate to you what templates are available in trust and which are available in probate. So to do that, I'm just going to do a review or update on the trust administration. And then you see, once you do that, to actually use the templates, you click the arrow by the documents. And then you can see now these are all the templates that would be available in the trust administration set. And you can just kind of see that they deal with all the various documents you would need in order to administer a trust. Now, if we go back to the home screen for Sally S. Smith, let's take a look at probate. Now, you might say, well, why are there both here? Well, it's very easy in these cases to have both. You could have a client who has a trust but failed to put all of their assets into the trust that should have been, and because of that, we're having to do a probate. I mean, with any particular decedent, you could have a case where the person does not have a trust, and they're just basically doing a probate. Or you could have a trust that was funded correctly and there's just a trust administration, or like here, a combination. So if you get into that situation where you have a combination, you can do both with inside of one home screen here. So let's take a look at the various templates that are available in the probate app. So we, again, just click Review or Update to open it up. And then we go back to Documents and click the arrow. And you see these are all the different documents that could be created using the probate app. And basically it's all of the documents that you would need to actually do a full probate of this case. Now let's take a look at how we would handle the administration of the Jane Jones Trust. And perhaps there's a probate here too. We'll just have to see. You probably learned about her death from a phone call or email from probably her husband in this case, or maybe some other relative. So to determine if you had represented her before, you would open up NobleForms and search for her record up here in the search. And you'd find her record, and then you'd click on it, and it would bring up her homepage here, John Andrew Jones and Jane Alice Jones. Now, a very important task at the outset of the case is to determine what assets she owned at death and what was the value of all of these assets at her death. One reason for doing that is to see if the decedent owned more than $1 million at death. If that's the case, then an Oregon estate tax return is due 1 year from the date of death, and any tax owed must be paid at that time. Now, a little bit further in this video, we're going to produce and show you what a date of death spreadsheet would look like for Jane Jones, the hypothetical decedent. Both the trust administration and the probate modules have a template to produce a date of death spreadsheet. So this is something that if this weren't really a trust administration and were a probate, you could also produce a date of death spreadsheet using the templates in the probate module. Another reason for determining the assets and their date of death value is to be able to track what happens to the assets during the administration of the trust or during the administration of the probate. That is to show which assets were liquidated and which assets will be distributed in kind at the end of the accounting period. Both the trust administration and the probate modules have a template called Exhibit 1, which shows the value of each asset at death, the value of any later acquired asset, the value of the asset at liquidation if liquidated, and the value of each asset at the end of the accounting period. And this would include a newly established estate or trust checking account to hold liquidation proceeds and to provide an account to pay bills, etc., or make distributions. A little bit further in this video, we will produce an Exhibit 1 for Joan Janes, the hypothetical decedent. Now, you did prepare a trust plan for the Joneses, and the screen before you shows the information on their estate plan. Now, there is a lot of information in here about assets. If you click, for instance, you could click for the trust spreadsheet doc. If you want to update that, you could review it, and you can see here, if you look down to, if you click for documents and you put trust spreadsheet, you can go down the screen. You can see, well, one thing you can see is other important people. Now, that includes all the financial institutions and all their addresses and etc., which you're going to need to update this. So then here's the asset information, all these different assets that they both owned, some of which are owned by Jane individually as well that aren't even in the trust. So you have a lot of information already to use. You really just need to update it. Let me show you how you would update it without retyping everything. To start a trust administration, first you navigate to Create Record. Jane Alice Jones, the hypothetical client, had a trust plan which you produced. She was married to John Andrew Jones, who is living and who continues to be the co-trustee of their joint trust. Since Jane had a trust, you will click Trust Administration, Olson Firm. This is the first screen in the trust administration. If the decedent is an existing client, like the case here, where Jane Alice Jones is the decedent, you will want to import other important people information and the asset information from the existing file. This will save a tremendous amount of time. To import the existing data, you navigate to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and click Select from Olson Firm. Now, you then go up to the filter by keyword. Now, if the decedent were not a former client, then you wouldn't click that and you just start out the document from scratch. But here, you're going to search now to filter by typing in Jones. And you'll see that, you see here the list shows the name of the first client, which in this case is John Andrew Jones. In the estate planning file, his name was entered first. Jane was the second name entered. This Olson file, John Andrew Jones, is the file containing the information on the decedent, Jane Alice Jones. So now go ahead and check it and then select. Now you're looking at the trust administration record, which has been created. Now you have to update the record. Let's start making some changes. First, we're going to pick the attorney. In this case, John J. Olson is in charge of this trust administration. And then select revocable living trust being administered after a settler's death or an irrevocable trust, such as a credit shelter trust. Well, this is the first option. Then let's go and take a look at the decedent. Now, there's a lot of information here. Most of this would be taken off of the death certificate. So in this case, you could start filling it out, and then you could actually there's a client interview form that we're going to create where you could send a link to this form to, say, the husband and have him finish it. But if you have the death certificate already, you could go ahead and fill this information or start to fill it in. So I'm going to start filling it in, and then we'll take a pause while I do that. Okay, I've gone ahead and filled in the information on the decedent. Now we have to scroll down here a little bit and take a look at other important people or entities, and you can see every single one has a red warning. Well, let's just open up one of them here. Let's take a look at, well, John Andrew Jones and see what's going on here. It says no role selected. So it's got all the information about him, you know, his personal information and everything. Let's go down here and take a look at the roles. So you see here, there were roles checked when he was in the estate planning, but there aren't any here. So he actually, let's just think about what his roles would be in this case. Well, he's a client. He's perhaps going to be the petitioner in a probate matter. He is the nominated personal representative under her will. He would be a candidate for personal representative. He is a settlor of a trust. He's a trustee. He's a beneficiary of a trust. He's an heir. He's not a devotee, because that would be her pour-over. The pour-over will says that her trust is the devotee. He's an heir who doesn't inherit, and that pretty much says what he gets here. So we can just leave it at that. Now, once you do that, you'll see then that red warning disappears. So we have to go through all of these and change the role, update the role. So again, I'm going to pause while I do that. Well, I've gone down the list, and now you see there's no red words next to any of the important people or entities. Mainly on these financial institutions, what you want to make sure is checked is the role would be determiner of title, ownership to an asset such as a financial institution. So once you've checked that role, then that red cautionary language goes away. And what this does is that if you have given them that kind of a role, if you were to use one of the templates to write a letter to that institution, that would make them available in a drop-down list so that you could select that for the addressee of the letter, for instance. Now, concerning the various people that are in the other important people or entities, when you look at them, like for instance, let's take a look at William A. Jones. Now, I'm not sure exactly what his relationship is. I wrote down son because what I did was I actually opened the client interview for the clients that was part of the estate planning. And this is the document that's produced from the client interview, and it shows who the children are. So here he is, William Jones. It also has, if you check the view up here, make sure navigation pane is selected, you can navigate through this Word document, which you would have on your computer if you had done the estate plan for this couple. And you can look at other important people, and you see this has all the list of the other important people, all the different companies. So you can it's pretty obvious actually that they are financial institutions. So you really wouldn't have to go to this. But you just kind of go through all of the people and the different institutions and make sure there's a role assigned to them. The next thing you're going to want to look at is the assets. Now, it's brought in all the assets from the spreadsheet. If you went back and looked at the spreadsheet, this is what you would see from the estate planning. So you can see that every one of them has a red warning on it. It says that we have to assign a category. Asset category is required. Well, let's push the arrow here, press the arrow, and see what this is. Well, here's the vacation home, and let's just take a look what's missing here. So it's got asset owner at death, asset category, and they're blank. Now, this was supposed to have been put into the ownership of the trust back at the planning stage. And if you open the spreadsheet from the estate planning, which you would have in your file, you can see that this vacation home was supposed to go into the trust. Well, I don't know. Hopefully it did. You can certainly find out. You could get a trio and find out if they ever did it. But to answer that question, well, this would be the asset category. It should be part of the trust. It should be a trust asset. And who is the owner at death? Well, it would be the decedent's trust. And what percent did she own of the vacation home? It was in a joint trust, and she owned half of the trust, so that would be 50%. That's what she owned in this. And the other owners here, you could have, the other owner would be, John, her husband, or his trust actually. It's a trust asset. The value, now these values were taken from the estate planning. This could have been a long time ago. Now this might have to be updated. So we're going to go through and kind of get rid of all the red warnings here, assign it to what we think is the appropriate category. And the values for now, we're going to accept those that were brought in from the estate planning. But of course, these could be way off the mark. And they're not the official rated date of death records. They're just kind of a tentative date of death value. We're going to have to share this with the husband. We can share this interview form with the husband, and he can go fill it out, and we can ask him to provide documentation that's going to establish the date of death value. Maybe we have to have this property appraised. Maybe we'll need an appraisal in the file in order to go back and actually type in the correct value for date of death. But for now, we'll just leave it like that. So for each one of these assets, you have to go through here and determine whether it's owned by. Now, if this were an asset, it includes all the assets. It includes the assets that are owned by the husband that she doesn't own any part of, like the retirement. These retirements down here, they've got a number. It doesn't really say who. It didn't bring in who owned it. But if you go back and look at the spreadsheet that was created at the time, you can go down to retirement accounts and you can see which one was his and which ones was hers. So Jane, we're worried about, we don't care about John. That's not part of the trust administration, nor is it part of the date of death calculation for Jane. What John owned, this one, the Vanguard, the 676555, that got brought over, but that's really not part of the case. So that was the one for John. This is the 76555. So let's go find that one. 76555 on the retirement. Right here, this one, 76555. That's the one that was owned, that's the owned by the IRA owned by John. So what we're going to do here, the 6555, this one, we're just going to take it and we're going to delete it from the list because it's not part of Jane's date of death spreadsheet, not part of her assets. So that's how you would go through here. So you go through and make sure that anything that's owned by John, you're going to take out. And to figure out what is owned by John, you just, since you did the estate plan, you've got the spreadsheet that shows what John owns, like the insurance. This insurance here that ends in 455 at MetLife, the 455, that again, that's owned by John, not by Jane. So we'd go look for the insurance that ends in 455 over here down in insurance that ends in 455. This one right here, that's the one that's owned by John. So that's not part of her. She doesn't own any part of that. So we're going to take that one out. You see, we're just kind of narrowing down the assets here. Anything that's just owned by John, we don't care about. I think maybe the Nike stock was just owned by John, but maybe we put it in the trust, so she might own half of it. Let's go back and see. Well, for the Nike stock, let's see, the stock for Nike, oh no, that was supposed to just be John. So again, that's also something. The Nike stock, that's something we don't want in here. So the Nike stock right here, this number 17, we're going to delete that one out also. And you see, we're kind of winnowing it down now based on what, we should know this because we did the estate plan. Now, if you don't have any data, you're going to have to start from scratch, like with the husband. And there, he's going to have to start filling in these assets. You maybe you're going to have him come into the office with some documents. Maybe you'll do it on the phone. Maybe you'll send him the form to start filling out. But it's you're going to have to work with the trustee on this to determine what Jane owned at her death if you didn't do the estate plan. Here you've got a good head start. It's just you have to go through and edit it. So I'm going to go take a pause now and go through here and edit everything, determine what's owned by Jane, what's owned by the trust, and what's owned by John, and edit this list so we get a pretty accurate list. Now, maybe this was just from taken in from the estate plan, and maybe if it was done 5 years ago, it's not accurate. Maybe we're going to have to go through and delete with John, go through here and delete some more of these, or maybe add some more. Maybe there's some new assets that maybe the trust acquired some new assets and she owns half. So, but it's a good start with this and saves a lot of time to be able to import this data. So we're going to take a pause now while I go through and edit this, get rid of all the red warning signs. Well, I've gone through all of the assets and I have, we've got rid of all the red warnings because they now all have a category. I think at this point I'm going to end this video, and the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to keep working on the date-of-death spreadsheet. We're going to prepare a client interview app to send to John. We'll send it via email, and we'll ask him to review all this and make some more, let us know if there's any new assets or if any assets have been, eliminated from the time of the estate planning to the date of death, and also to provide us with documentation to, if he has any, for date of death. We'll probably follow up then with some sort of a Teams meeting once he's done some work, and we'll kind of keep working with him until we get a document that would pass muster with the Oregon Department of Revenue for the date of death value for all of the assets, and we have a complete list that's accurate.